Speaking of regulation of video games, Ian.
Yeah.
This is interesting, and this is something that's been long overdue.
Actually, this I'm all for.
This could almost be the ESRB trying to get ahead of the problem. But the ESRB is now going to start instituting a plan to label games, games labeled for like violence or nudity or naughty words or what the hell else have you. They're going to start labeling in-game sales so that you know that, oh, if I'm buying this game, they're going to try to fleece me before I buy it, which I'm surprised they didn't do that anyway, but
rated F for fleecing.
Rated F is very good, Ian. You built that comedy pyramid. So if you look at the letter here, it's long, but it's a response to Senator Hassan, who has concerns about loot boxes, like I do. I think it's a form of gambling.
I think we all do.
Targeting mostly children, but targeting people that probably should know better, to be honest. If you don't experience with gambling and all of a sudden it's in your video game, I don't know how you know to respond to that. What if you went to the supermarket and all of a sudden a roulette table comes out and say, oh, you can bet on that. If you get red or black, you get a free Mario cereal. You're like, what if that happened in the middle of everyday life?
Or I would like some gala apples. Nope, spin a wheel.
Spin a wheel. give us 25 cents. You might get an apple. You might get a syringe. But isn't that the same thing? Video games should have nothing to do with gambling.
No.
Like they should have. The two should be totally far apart. One is pure and innocent, and one you might sacrifice your college's mutual funds. And
I mean, if you want to play Vegas Dreams,
your
that's
kid's
fine.
college
But
mutual fund,
that's fake money.
I said your college's mutual fund. Your kid's college fund. God damn it, Pat, it's late.
It is.
But you see what I'm saying, though?
Yeah.
So
I feel you.
So they're gonna have an in-game purchase label, and Senator Maggie Hassan, Democrat from New Hampshire, which I always forget to state, unfortunately. She called it a step forward, the plan, but she's troubled by the organization's skepticism over the potentially addictive nature of loot boxes. She says, the ESRB's actions today are a step forward in addressing consumers' concerns about in-game purchases, including loot boxes. We have senators in the U.S. now knowing what loot boxes are. This is what I was trying to avoid.
Yes.
Because this is where legislation will actually make sense if ESRB and the industry doesn't self-regulate.
Well, and it sounds like the ESRB is, while they're taking a stance on it, it's soft because
all the money.
Yeah, because of the money.
ESRB is funded by the game companies.
Exactly.
It's like the NRA. They're the NRA of this. The ESRB. When you think about it.
Oh, we're so fucked. We're all gross.
She says the harmful impact that loot boxes can have without adequate parental controls and transparency. While today's announcement of the creation of a new in-game purchases label and the ESRB's response to my letter are a positive step for parents and consumers, I'm still concerned by the ESRB's skepticism regarding the potentially addictive nature of loot boxes and microtransactions in video games. I will work with all relevant stakeholders to continue oversight on these issues and ensure that meaningful improvements are made to increase transparency and consumer protections. Of course, these are addictive. Gambling's addictive. That's
like the shithead doctors in the 80s who were skeptical over the addictive nature of opiates.
Or the 1 in 10 doctors still think that cigarettes don't cause lung cancer. Like the people that were holding on, like the ones that were funded by the big tobacco companies. So
the world is gross.
Absolutely, it's run by money, Ian. I think we know that by now.
Well, yeah, we do.
It's capitalism.
It is. It's capitalism.
But this is where you need regulations, and this is where I want to go against the libertarianism because you need regulation because sometimes we have to. We need protection from our innate inadequacies as human beings sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes humans are assholes.
Yeah.
And we don't look out for the best interests of each other.
No, we don't.
When it comes to money or personal gain or greed. Sometimes you need someone to help. You're being a fuck face. Now, let's take a step back. Be less of a fuck face. Don't fleece 5-year-olds to try to get your in-game CS:GO knife or whatever that's colored like Donkey Kong's crotch. I don't know.
Let's stop calling school shootings false flags.
Oh, that's something else.
But I mean, still, let's not do that.
But that goes back to money as well because you have some maybe people of below average intelligence thinking they're smarter, believing in disgusting conspiracy theories.
Just continuing on with the world being disgusting. That's all.
People are disgusting at times. Mm-hmm. Not everyone out there listening. Few of you might be. I guarantee a few of you
Not all people. I mean,
not all Scotsmen. But I still don't know what that actually means. That are ESRB said ESRB said based upon our research, 91% of parents indicate that they do not allow their children to make in-game purchases without permission. The ones that know about it, right?
Yeah, yeah. Just like 100% of parents don't want their children smoking, but whatever.
They did admit we know there is very low awareness of loot boxes among parents. So 91% of the parents that know about it, maybe, but it's a skewed fucking fact. If you're like a 45-year-old or a 40-year-old and you're not into video games and you're fucking 10, 15-year-olds playing Call of Duty, you have any fucking clue there's a loot box in the game?
It's amazing.
The kid's in his room playing for 8 hours a day. You don't give a shit. It's your fault for not parenting well, not knowing what's in the game, but you don't know there's a fucking loot thing going on.
Back when we were kids, cash was king. It amazes me how easy kids get their parents' credit card numbers today and get into trouble with that sort of shit.
And people say, well, it's a parent's fault. Well, it's the same thing in like anything else. It's like, well, you don't want to put the liquor out for the kid to take a swig of it. You want to lock it up, but there's got to be controls either way. There's got to be some sort of controls. There's got to be a fail-safe. In this case, it's a lot easier to get a credit card number. A kid can steal it even versus getting a swig of alcohol.
Well, we just live in a world where cash isn't really a thing anymore, and everything is transacted via card. And if a parent is going to buy something for their kid, it's not as easy as being like, okay, here's $10, go to the mall. That just doesn't exist anymore.
There's a credit card, buy some bullshit digital assets in a game that are worth nothing in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah.
So anyway, anything else to add to this?
Nah.
ESRB, you got to fucking do something about this. I know this is the basis of the industry now, by and large. But if you don't act, like I was saying forever, the government's going to act on it and force your hand on it and do something about it.
And we really don't want to get to that point.
No, the point is you want to prevent the government from stepping in and doing it. Because then they'll overstep their bounds, and then you might be worse off or in a different direction entirely. What if they succeeded with, getting rid of violent video games in the 90s?
Right.
If the ESRB didn't put up, the ratings in the first place and establish all that.
If the government gets involved, I mean, all your video games might be... they'll come and take your video games and replace them all with guns.
They'll trade in the games for guns program?
Yeah.